Welcome to the podcast where we speak truth, illuminate power, and fully embody who the fuck we are. This is the Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. We are all about spiritual evolution, spiritual growth, talking about the things that may be controversial, even some triggering concepts, but we are all about expansion. Come on in and join us as we reclaim and recenter ourselves in the power of who we really are. We are the Light Warriors, and welcome to the revolution. Welcome back, everybody. Episode 106 of the Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. And I lean into a couple of different conversations in here that flow really well together. But we talk about discernment and about the next levels of energies moving through and about some truth bombs that I've been working within inside of a collective energy group that I just joined that are literally baseline truth of all the aspects that we've forgotten as humans on this experience. And I have been doing some recalibration moving through the field, and I share some of that today inside the podcast of what that feels like, what that means, and what we're moving through. And this is a pretty powerful platform right now for expansion. And as we move through these next few weeks together and next few months, I feel like it's only going to escalate more. So I desire for you to open your heart to really feel, what is your intuition telling you when I'm speaking into you today? What is your intuition saying that you may need to let go of or change or shift or, release in your world, and start to follow that pull within your heart, because your heart is leading you. Your heart is this intuitive flow. Your heart is calling you forward and showing you the way. Our job as humans is to listen. And most of us fuck around in that and don't. And we think that it's okay to procrastinate, or we think that it's like, whatever, we'll get to that later, or we think it's an option. But when we are spiritual beings on an earth experience, like we all are, our intuition is leading and guiding us on the pathway that we're actually meant to serve within. And I ask you and call you forward today to consider that as you move through this podcast episode today. So enjoy episode 106 of the Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. Well, here we are back, Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. And there's so much to say. Yet, when you're in this flow of like really upgrading your energy, it's like, I don't even know how to put to words some of the work that I've been doing over the last 48 hours in my world. And it's been an interesting transition. So for those of you guys that watch the video here on YouTube, I had to finagle my desk setup to record this podcast this morning because the light coming in from the sun in these windows was just so beautiful. However, you wouldn't have been able to see me on camera. And it's really fun if we can think about this and really lean into this conversation today about shifting gears and about really seeing through the changes that are happening in our world. Because some of the things that we regularly do in our life are starting to kick up, meaning that we are being asked to transition them. We are being asked to upgrade. We're being asked to release them. We're being asked to let go of certain aspects of our world. And some of these aspects have been systems and habits that you've created in your life for a long, long time. And they've served you for a long time, that discipline, that movement forward. But now your body's calling something different. Now the setup in your office is calling for something different so that people can see you on camera. And I look at this small thing, because it is small. It's like, oh, well, we can just shift. I'll put the computer on that, record the video, then I'll flip back around and do the Facebook Live that I have to do in a half an hour and see if it all makes sense and works at that time when the sun moves across the sky a little bit more. But if we look at this in our life right now, and we really dive in to the space of this conversation that we're having today, you will see and find that it's like, where in your life right now are you too rigid in your processes and systems, and you haven't been paying attention to the shift? Because we're in this really deep escalation of timelines of literally dismantling things in our world that we haven't ever had to come up against because we haven't been in awareness the way that we are today. And the souls are, we wouldn't really say awakening, because they're not really awakening. They're remembering the parts of who they really are in the mechanism of everything. And the truth, the pure truth, the truth that used to run through the world 208,000 years ago. And I know that that's a really distinctive number, but it's when Atlantis fell with a couple other digits near the end. I don't know what the exact number is. And when Atlantis fell, that was the start of distortion in the Earth experience. That is when the energy shifted, the change started happening. People that were known as the sovereignty leaders took on the Lucifer energy and brought it into the earth plane and changed the life of humans. We are now at this pivotal point in the collective of reshifting back into the actual innate energy that we were meant to hold on earth. Will everybody make it there? No, because we will have that separation of energetics. But those of us doing the work and those of us stepping in and even more potently using discernment in our world, we are moving through quicker. We're doing the practices. So over the last 5 days, I literally have been in a 5-day masterclass series called Catalyst. This is going to be an offering that will be free in my world. If you desire it, there'll be a link in the show notes. You can grab it. You get all the replays, all the things in the inside of the space of everything, and you can go and attach yourself into that space if you desire that. But we literally have been talking about some key elements that are coming through for us as catalysts in the world, for us as illuminators, for us as the light warriors in the space of things, to be able to maneuver ourselves forward in this aspect of our light and to own it. And one of the key elements was self-discipline and discernment in the space of this awareness. Some of the people we used to be in a relationship with are no longer in alignment and energy. And just because they have 100,000 followers or they make 7 figures a year does not mean that they're working in the purity of their light. And we need to start, you don't need to do anything, but in context to this relationship podcast episode, we need to start to pay attention. If your intuition says no, allow it to come through. So I just recently joined a community that is way the fuck out there. The original Indigos, and I've always known that I was an Indigo child, and not even based in the literature that we know, but there was a part of that structure inside of me that was being illuminated. How I knew things growing up, I remember a lot of the teachings I teach in the world. Sometimes I don't know all the scientific logistics behind it or the reasons behind it, but I lead in that space. And then I get the confirmations later, like the elementals program that I taught earlier this year, when I brought in additional elements. So we worked within the 4 key elements of earth, but then I brought in gold and silver, and I brought in wood. And at the time I didn't understand why. I get and understand why now. Silver and gold are potently aligned in our natural. Before all of this distortion moved through the field, that was the flow of our energy. It was in silver and gold light. And we're bringing that back into some of the work we're doing as indigos, as the spiritual light warriors on the earth that are bringing back this energy and recalibrating back into the space of things. We're bringing them back. And I didn't know consciously how I was tapped in until I met these people a few days ago. And I realized what I was tapped into, what I was channeling. And it is potent for a lot of people. It triggers a lot of people. A lot of people don't want to do the work. People come into my field and leave my field because they're in their own spaces and they can't hold potentially the energy that we're moving through as a collective, which is so okay because every single person's on their pathway, right? No judgment on journeys at all because of the fact that everybody is where everybody is. And that's the space that we're really working through. However, I'm being called in to dive in deeper into this escalation, to start to move in new practices, bring back the tonality, of the pure ancient wisdom languages that I naturally channel, but didn't know I was naturally channeling them until I started to hear we'll call them songs for lack of a better word, the songs coming through or the tonality voices coming through as I started to do some of this work. And I went, oh my God. And so I get and understand some of the dynamics of my life. Like I get why there's a lot of people that flow and ebb and flow out of my world. But I also want to call forth this energy of discernment for you. When I move through my intuition, there were some people, let's say at the beginning of my journey, that I would like kind of lean into and then after a little bit of time, I'd be like, oh, something's off about that. Something's off about that. Or there's people in the world that really love these types of key people. And they're like, they're channeling the Galactic Federation and they're doing this and all that stuff. And I'm like, something is off about this. And I don't know what is off about it. I don't know why it was off. All I knew was I was supposed to unplug from that and move through. That's what I knew. And as I maneuvered forward and as I felt into the space, I didn't think twice about it. I just kept moving. I just kept moving. I just kept moving. I just kept moving. Now, in the field of everything that's moving through, I'm a part of this collective, and some of these names are on the list. They're saying that they have been embedded with some AI energy in their actual esoteric and astral bodies, like not in their actual physical form potentially. And the energies that they are tapped into are actually not in alignment. They're wearing guises and they're wearing like let's say they shapeshifted into the space of things. And I went, fuck, of course they did. I knew this, right? I didn't know it, but I knew it intuitively. So I want to place, and it's not here or there, like you don't need to know the names or anything. Like this is a connection for you. This is a reminder of who are you following? The people that are in your world, do they still feel aligned? Is the mission still the same? Has it changed? The vibration of the work that you're doing in the space of things, is it aligned in that aspect of things? What does this feel like for you? How does this move through in your energetic field inside of the space of things? For you to be able to lean into, for you to be able to really, really start to trust yourself, right? Because you're hearing the whisper, you're hearing your intuition, you're hearing it coming in, whether you're choosing to listen or not, that is up to you. But we are dismantling all the things around this right now in the collective. And if you're here listening to this podcast right now, I am assisting energetically to do that for you. And not because you've given me permission and not because I'm in your energetic field at all, but because you tapped into this calibration, just even alone, this one podcast. So it's allowing you to step up and for the energetics that I get to play within to assist you in moving through. However, this is where the caveat comes in, is we will be called to do the work. We're going to have to change our practices in everyday life or our self-discipline in our spiritual practices. And, you know, when I talk about upgrading our clearing protocols and protection protocols, this isn't an option. So I have a new protocol that I've been working within starting yesterday, and I was told you need to do it 3 times a day. That's what Spirit told me to do. I need to do it 3 times a day. And then literally I was diving into some audios in this new group that I'm a part of, and he says, ideally, everyone should do it daily, but ideally, people should be doing this 2 to 3 times a day for the first 30 days because it's got to pull back in calibration. Because we're dismantling a force field that's in the energetics that was created for humanity to stay literally in our 3D bodies when we're actually meant to be tapped into 12D energy. That's how we came to Earth back before Atlantis fell. That's how we flowed. We moved through this energetic field. And I was like, this feels right. And I knew 3 times a day. So the first thing before we even got out of bed this morning, it went onto my ears. It's a 15-minute track. It went onto my ears. Then later on in the middle of the afternoon, I'll do it again. And then tonight I'll do it again. So I'm working with the energetic, what we call oscillation, creation of momentum of this energetic field to be able to hold the frequency and to recalibrate myself into the space. And even over the last 2 days, I've been feeling so much more aligned, at peace, in connection, in surrendering and understanding this mechanism of everything and being able to hold it in the field of awareness. And it's been really cool to be in this space of things and to trust in the mechanism of stuff coming through and to allow myself to let go of the things that no longer serve. Like there is a podcast I'm supposed to be interviewed on next week, and maybe that will still happen. However, she asked me to read these 2 books. And from what I understand now about what has transpired through the earth plane and some of the dynamics of what has been put into these books, it is not an actual alignment of truth. So I'm going to send her a message today to say to her, look, like this is the aspect of what I'm working through now. There's some distortion in these books because it was channeled through a certain deity that actually didn't come to earth to help and assist us. He came to earth to create his own agenda. And I can't finish these books. Like I cannot go into this energy and finish. I refuse to because of the fact that I don't want to battle that energy just to be interviewed on a podcast to talk about these books that I actually am not in alignment with. And there may be some truth in them still, but the energy in which they came through, I would be questioning the whole entire thing. So I'm just like, and I'm going to have to step up and say that. And maybe she'll want me to come on and talk about why that is and what this actually means. And I am a newbie, let's say, in this world. I'm not, but I am from a logical perspective of being able to communicate this into the space. But I'm like, if she still wants to do the podcast, I'll step up and I will learn the dynamics of what this actually means for us in connection for that. And I'll step up into the world to be able to speak that into the space. But I am in this energetics right now of like real clear discernment and purity. And I'm only going to encourage every single one of you to be doing the same thing. Some of you are in programs with mentors that no longer align, but you're still staying there because you paid for them. Some of you are in spaces of dynamic things that you're like, I don't believe that any longer. And you're still doing that practice because it's easy for you or you're comfortable with it. And it's not like I have people moving out of my world too. And it's for whatever reasons that they're moving through the phase. And yeah, sometimes my human gets dinged inside of that. But then I'm like, no, like this is perfect. Because they either can't hold my energetics or we're no longer aligned in the energy of what we're creating together. And we came into the space to do some work together in whatever flow that is. And my job is to be able to release that into the field, which I am doing effectively and honoring all the things. You know, I honor that. I want and desire people to lead in their intuition and to trust the levels of calibration that they're at and whatever that means for them, whether they are in a space of like reverting back into systems and habits that maybe no longer serve them, but that's where their safety is, then maybe that's where they need to be for the next while. And maybe in the next while after that, they're going to see what transpired and they're going to come out of it and shift and change again. I don't know. Or maybe they're going to stay there the rest of their life and that's where they're meant to be. I'm not in charge of any of that for anyone. But here's the deal in my world. It's like I'm being called forth into a new level of energetics in the world. And I am, oh, there you go. Somebody needed to hear that for sure. And I am really, really devoted to the practices that are going to move it through for me. And I am devoted on letting go of the things that no longer serve that space. Like certain food qualities that I think I'll still have pasta like once a month because I just love pasta. But if my body keeps kicking it out the way that it does, it won't transpire anymore. But like alcohol and certain aspects of life and certain things are no longer in it. And it feels aligned. It doesn't feel like that's hard. It just feels like that's the choice we're making now. Now, how do we move through the rest of the stuff? How do we start to really lean in to this next level? And whatever that means for all of us, the next level could be so much more peace and joy in your world that you just start to recreate aspects of your childhood in your life because that's what's being called forward for you, which is so perfect and aligned. But most of us are scared the fuck. Like we're so fucking scared to do the work. We're so scared of what's going to happen. We're so scared of all these things when fear is a lack of acceptance. Fear is a lack of acceptance. You don't have all the answers, so therefore you fear what's about to transpire. So feel into that one today. I feel like I'm complete for this podcast. It's going to be a little short episode for you guys, but I feel like this is coming in potently aligned. And yeah, so I will make sure if you guys feel called to Catalyst, that the link is in the show notes for you and that you can gain access to that masterclass series that I did. The replays are going to be there. It's free. So go in and feel it out. You can watch it through YouTube or you can join the group and comment as you move through the replays as well. So it's up to you what you kind of want to maneuver within, but let's go. We're on a journey, my friends, and let's go make that journey move and maneuver with us. And I'll see you guys all in the next episode. Well, we know that you like the podcast potentially because you're still here listening to this actual audio at this moment of time. So all that we're going to ask is can you please just help us share it out? Tag some friends, share it with a friend, help us spread the word, because each of us moving through together as we collaborate, as we move within this light warrior movement, helps each of us illuminate in lights. And we're just so grateful. I'm so grateful. The guests are always so grateful too, that you help us spread the word, that you help us really step into this space to be able to own all of our pathway. And we are just so grateful to have you here. And thank you again for listening.